Hello guys, welcome to episode 2. In this video, as you can see, we will be working on finishing up the blueprinting for the illumination system, and in the next episode we'll be working on some more of the fun parts like a car alarm and fog lights, stuff like that. But yeah, this is the result of the first episode and I hope you guys enjoy the video. Alright guys, welcome to episode 2 of the Advanced Illumination System. In this episode we're just gonna get started on blueprinting, getting all the lights set up for the vehicle. And yeah, let's not waste any more time. We're gonna go into the blueprint. If we open it up, it's a default project, as you guys may know from the previous episode. And all we did was just export the light and put the new light materials in here. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is actually put some spotlights in front of it for where the actual lights would be. So let's just get started. Let's grab the first in the front and let's say a spotlight. Okay, and we want to place it in front of the vehicle, obviously, because that's where the light source will be. So just move it over until it sort of lines up. Doesn't need to be perfect, but just gonna be lining it up like so. Okay. Now for the color, I'm actually going to grab the color of the headlights, which is sort of a whitish yellowish tone. And now I have my other project open, so I'm quickly going to check the settings for it. It was more yellowish, but we can keep it that way, it's fine. So the default is going to be 0, and then the outer cone is going to be 70. It just brings the light out more towards the back, and we'll actually make it like 2000, make it longer, like so. And we're going to be calling this the headlight for the front right. Okay. Now we just want to right click, duplicate. We're going to call this front left and just move it towards where the other light is, like so. Okay. And now we have these two, I'm just going to call them fog lights. They're not really fog lights on this car, but we'll just call it fog lights. So we're actually going to duplicate this one again. We're going to call this fog light right, front right, like so. Just drag it roughly to where it would be. Make sure it's nice and nicely to the light, like so. And we're gonna make it actually more of a yellowish color this time, just so it so you can see the difference a little bit better. So let's say like say something like that. Okay. Now we're gonna copy this one more time. We're gonna call this fog light front left. Okay. Drag that over to where the light is. It's roughly right here, like so. Okay, so now we have the lights in the front. Now for the blinkers, you can't have fog lights, spotlights, because it doesn't really make sense. So what we're actually going to do is use point lights. So just type in point light, like so. We're gonna call this blinker front left. Now if you move it, you can actually see that it, well, it's actually just a light that emits in every direction. So place it roughly where the blinker would be, like so. And now for the color, I'm gonna use orange because it's a blinker. And for the intensity, I'm gonna be setting it, we'll be changing these values anyway, but for now let's say like 70. So if I now click off of this, as you can see, it has like a nice blinker color. All you do now is just click on it and we're gonna duplicate it once again. We're gonna say blinker front right, move it over to the right side, something like that. Okay, so now in the front, all of the lights are done. Now we're gonna move towards the back and we're actually going to do the same thing with the blinker. So just duplicate, and we're gonna call it back right. I know it's a lot of lights in the car, but for now, this is kind of the only reason, like the only way that I found it to make it actually look realistic. Because with materials, you can't really emit that much light. So that's why we're doing this. All right, so now that we have that, we're gonna duplicate this one more time. Gonna call this blinker back left. Move towards the left. Okay, like so. And now for the back, I know I made materials for this, but I'm not gonna put lights on these bars. The only thing I'm gonna do is this stop lights, but you can do whatever you want with your car. Doesn't really matter. So we're actually going to grab another spotlight. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering a little bit. And we're gonna call this, actually no spotlight. We're actually going to grab a point light again. Because in the back you don't need to radiate out. So we're gonna grab a point light, place it in the back, roughly like so. And for the intensity, let's set it to like, say like 200, okay? And we make it a nice dark red, like so. Make sure it's like nicely in the middle. You can also click on this and then select back, and then you can actually, if you do wire, no, well, you can roughly see where it should be, right? Like so. And I see a little problem with the light, it seems like you can just look through it, but you can't on this side, so I think it's just an issue with Unreal. Okay, so after that, you just click on this. Let's rename this to tail light back left. And we're gonna duplicate this one more time. This is the last one, I promise. And it's gonna be back right, like so. Now we're gonna drag this one to roughly where it should be. So go here, roughly where it would be, like so. And there you go. Now, if I drag this into the level, you can actually see that the car will have sort of functioning lights, right? So you see the lights in the back, you see the blinkers. The front lights, we have disabled the intensity of it, so they're going to be displaying 0. But if I click on all of these for a second, I could set this to, for example, 5000. If I now check in game, as you can see, we actually have all of the lights working. Okay, all the lights are in the game now. So if I press play and I drive around, as you can see, the lights are here. Awesome. But now we want to have a way to enable and disable them, right? So if you're blinking, it actually does like blinking. Now to do that, we're actually going to, first of all, I'm going to create all the function and variables first. And then afterwards, I'm going to be explaining, like we're going to be filling it in, and I'm going to be explaining what everything means, okay? So to start, let's go to the braking controls. And in the back here, where it says set handbrake input, we're going to be deleting this function for the brake lights, because we're going to be making our own. And then here, delete the function. Yes. Save it. And it's going to say that it's also here in the brake. So we're just going to be deleting those as well. And there you go. Okay, so we're going to get started with the first function. So click here on function, and we're going to call this toggle lighting, or let's say toggle lights. Okay, now for the input, we're going to be using a boolean, which is going to be the lights enabled. And the next thing we are going to do is actually make a enumerator to determine which lights we want to enable. So in the content browser, click or right click and then go into blueprint enumeration. And we're going to call this en lights. Okay, so open this up, and we are actually going to, give me 1 second. Okay, we're going to be getting 5 different values. Okay, so let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the first one is going to be only the headlights. Okay, the next one is going to be the taillights. The next one is going to be fog lights. The next one is going to be the blinkers on the left side. And the last one is going to be the blinkers on the right side. Okay, so headlights, taillights, fog lights, blinkers left, and blinker right. After that, you can save that, close this. And now here, we're gonna click on the little plus button here. And on the right side, we're actually going to be typing in the lights. You grab the enumeration. And this is going to be the lights that we want to toggle. So I'm just going to be lights to toggle. Okay. So that's one function. Also right here, I'm going to be setting this to private and in the category called the, I'm just going to be calling advanced illumination setting system. But you can put whatever you want here. Just keep it nice and tidy. We're actually going to be, for the next one, we're actually going to be duplicating this. Okay. And we're going to be calling this the set light parameter. Okay. Now for the inputs, we're going to keep the lights enabled, right? But for the second one, instead of the enumeration, we're going to be making it a name. Okay. And we're going to be saying the light material. Okay. And let's quickly see. Yeah, okay. We do need it. Okay. And then we're going to be taking two float values in here as well. So click on the plus, make it into a float. And then here we're going to be saying the true value. One more. And we're going to call it the false value. And it will all make sense later down the line. But for now, we're just filling in the functions. And then afterwards, we're going to be actually writing the code. Okay. So now that we have that, we're going to be duplicating the toggle lights again, just because that's less variables. Duplicate it again. And we're going to be calling it the brake when the vehicle brakes. Now for the brake, all you want to do is delete the enumeration. And then right here, we want to say is braking enabled. Okay. That's all we need for this function. Then we're going to do another one. So duplicate it again. And we're going to be calling it the set headlight rotation. Later down the line, we're going to be like setting up adjustable headlights so you can put them up and down for more realism. You don't need to do it, but if you want, you can do it. You can have it. So for the first thing we want is actually click on this and type in spotlight component. And we're going to be calling this the spotlight actor. And then the next one we're going to have is going to be a float, and it's going to be the rotation value. Okay. And then the last function that we're going to write, so duplicate the brake, duplicate it, and we're going to be calling it the set brake material value. Now all we want to have in here is a name for the material name. Okay. And then the next thing we want is a float value for when it's true. I'll explain everything later down the line, but let's say true value. Okay. So compile and save. And now we're going to be writing some variables for a second. So the first variable is going to be a float value, and we're going to be calling it the headlight intensity. Okay, which is going to be a float. I'm going to be putting it at private. Then in here, sorry, the category, we're also going to be putting it in the advanced illumination system, just so everything stays nice and organized like so for later down the line. So we have the headlight intensity. We're going to be duplicating this. We're going to be calling this the fog light intensity. I'm sorry, English is not my first language, so. The next one, duplicate again, is going to be the tail light intensity. The next one is going to be the blinker intensity. That's not correct. Intensity, like so. And then we're going to be having a, give me 1 second. Okay. So the next variable that we are going to have are booleans. So let's duplicate this one again. Okay, we're going to be calling this is vehicle braking, which is going to be a boolean. Duplicate this one, and let's say are the lights on? Okay. The next one is going to be are the fog lights on? And I'm writing really long variables just to make it more readable for newer developers, so they can also kind of read what's going on. And the last one is are the blinkers on? So duplicate again. Are the blinkers on? Okay. After that, we can compile and save this. And we're actually, before we can get started, we first need a few inputs. So the first input is actually to turn on the headlights. So go into project settings. We're going to go into input. And now here, when it says, well, we can use the old system for this, but we're actually going to close this, go into the vehicle template, input, actions. We're going to create a new input action, or just let's just duplicate the brake, and we're going to call it IA for input action. And let's say headlights, or like, let's say lights. Okay, click on this, which is going to be a float. No, it's going to be a Boolean value. Okay. Then we can close this one. The next thing we need is to, actually, if you want to turn for blinkers for turning, I'm going to be setting them up depending on the steering value. But if you want something else, you can just put that on like an input. It doesn't really matter. And I think that is it for now. Yeah, we can start filling in the functions, and then afterwards we can... Oh, one more thing. If you go back into the vehicle template input, click on the action mappings and make a new one for the lights. So the little plus icon, lights. And now for the input, I'm actually going to be putting it on the F key, but you can put whatever key you want. Okay, now we can start. Okay, so let's start with the lights. So let's say IA lights. Okay, and you have this different events for this. Okay, we only want when it starts and when it gets cancelled or completed. You can also do triggered, started or triggered, but I'm just gonna be using the started and then cancelled or completed. You can just select whatever you want for this. Okay. So from here, what we want to do is actually, because we don't, it is going to go up anyway. So what we're going to do on the triggered, we want to do a multi-gate. If you don't know what a multi-gate is, it basically goes from this one to the next one every single time you click on it, this is going to increase by 1 until it hits the final part of the gate. Then it's going to go back to the top if you set it to looping. Otherwise, it's just going to stop. You can also do a flip-flop. But the bad thing about a flip-flop is it can only do 2 executions. While if you do a multi-gate, you can do multiple. Okay? That's basically how a multi-gate works. If you want more of an in-depth video on how all of these things work, I can definitely make some tutorials on that. But for now, all you need to know, a multi-gate basically goes from 0 to the last one, and when it hits the last one, it's going to go back to the top. Okay, so from the multi-gate, we're going to be setting it to looping because we want to be able to toggle the headlights on and off. And now for the first one, what we want to do is actually drag out the toggle lights, and on 0, we want to say we want to turn on the headlights, okay, and say lights enabled. And now we also want to turn on the tail lights. So when you turn on the lights in a car in the front, it also turns it on in the back. Okay, it's basically what this is. Okay, so we can comment this if you want. I'm not really going to, but you can if you want. And we want to have one more input pin here. Now for the second one, we just want to click on this, copy and paste this. If you don't know how to do that, it's just Control-C, Control-V, like any other software out there. And then for the second one, we want to enable the fog lights. Okay, enable the fog lights. And now on the last one, we want to disable everything. So drag out from here, disable the headlights, copy and paste, disable the tail lights, and disable the fog lights. Okay, it's quite a simple function, like quite a simple thing. I made everything so it's as readable and as usable as possible, so you can use this for whatever you want. So we're quickly gonna comment this, and let's say headlights or like light control. Okay, like so. And let's actually start filling in this function. So we're gonna go in here. Now this one is going to become quite extensive because we have a lot of things we need to calculate. But I'll try to explain it as good as I can. So from the first one, we actually want to drag out of the lights toggle, and we want to do a switch. A switch, basically, depending on the value we have here, is going to trigger one of these execution pins. Okay, so we're gonna start on the top and then work our way down, because that might be the easiest way to explain this. So when the headlights get turned on or off, what we want to do is grab the headlights, so headlight front right, and the, where is it? Where's this spotlight? We don't need this spotlight, I'm sorry. Headlight front left, so let's go back into the function right here, and headlight front left. First thing we want to do is set the intensity. Okay, that is actually the amount of light that this will give. But we want to make sure that if the headlights are enabled, they should have the headlight intensity. If it is disabled, it should be 0. Okay, so out of this, what we can do is actually make a select node. Okay, a select node basically just selects between the different options depending on the index that you give it. So for now, if you right click and say get lights enabled, which is this little one here, but just to avoid getting lines everywhere, you can just right click and type it in like so. And now it's going to say, if it is true, we want to use the headlight intensity. Okay, if it is false, it can be 0 because we don't want to have lights then. Okay, so now that we have that, next thing we want to do is actually drag out of here and say set light parameter. And what this is going to do is actually set the value In the previous episode, I kind of explained it better, but I'll quickly go over it. If you go into one of the materials that we have here, that we have set up, we have this value, this little constant, which is basically between 1 and 0. If I set it to 0, it will have the default material with no lighting. If I set it to 1, it will have full lighting. That is basically the constant that we are going to be adjusting based on the lights. Okay, so close this. And now for the first thing, we want to check if the lights are enabled. You can just copy this little variable like so. Now for the light material name, we actually are going to go back into this material, click on this, and we can just copy the name. The reason we're copying and not just typing it, because it has to be exactly 1 by 1, because otherwise it will not work. So go back, and we're going to say, type that in there, like so. And if it is true, we want it to be the max value, so 1. Okay, and if it's false, we want it to be 0. Okay, and now that we have this, the last thing we want to do is tell the system if the lights are on, we want the lights to be on. So this little boolean we're going to be using in a heads up display, like a widget later on. So we're just going to be putting it in here right now. So click on this, copy and paste this, and just want to say whether the lights are on or off. Okay, and that is basically everything for the headlights. So I'm just going to comment this headlight. Okay, just grab my switch, clean it up a little bit. You don't have to do this, but I kind of like if everything is kind of clean. So I like if my projects are clean. Okay, now that we have that, the headlights are done. We can actually, I think we can test this. If we set our headlight intensity, I used 5,000, but you can use whatever you want. And if we click on the little headlights and the fog lights and put everything back at 0, like so, and we go into the game now, and we press F, as you can see, now the lights are on. If I press it one more time, they go back off. Okay, so on and off. But as you can see, our material is not actually updating. Why is that? Because I saw a mistake that I made in a previous episode. There cannot be a space between this material. So if I copy it without the space, and we go back into toggle lights and put it without the space, now they should work. So they are not. Why is that? Give me 1 second, guys, and I'll get back to you once I figure out why this is. Headlight intensity. Default is 1. Set to 0 by default. They're not updating. Why are they not updating? Oh, of course, guys. I found the issue. The reason it's not working is because we haven't actually wrote this function yet. So let's quickly do that. So go into the set light material, light parameter right here. Double click on that. And all we want to do in here is just based on this, we want to do another select. Okay, like so. If it is true, drag in the true. If it's false, drag in the false, like so. And now all we want to do here is drag in our mesh, and we want to say set scalar parameter value on materials. Okay, like so. And we just want to be dragging in the light material name, and the value comes from this select. Okay, that's all we want to do. And basically what it's saying, if the lights are on, we want to be switching between these two values, which is 1 and 0, depending on the light material that we fill in. Okay, so if we go back, as you can see, we have filled it in. Now if I compile and save this, and I turn on my headlights, as you can see, now my headlights are working. And now if I press it again, they will turn off. Okay, so it looks very good already. Now we're going to be doing the same thing for the back. It looks kind of similar. It is kind of pretty much the same thing. So we're just going to be copying all of this one more time, and we're going to be saying for the taillights this time. Okay, so put it like this. Instead of headlights, we're going to be using the taillight intensity, and we're going to be putting this at a default value of 200. Okay, now here for the intensity, instead of this, we want to say the taillight back left, taillight back right. Compile, save. Now for this one, we want to have the, if we go back into the content, we want to have the brake lights and get this brake intensity without a space. Copy the name and paste the name. And then for the taillights, we want to also have the lights. Okay. So now if I go into the game, obviously we want to set the brake light by default to 0. It's better to do it in the material on begin play. And also grab the taillight materials and the point lights and set it to 0, like so. Now we have no lights, but if I press F, as you can see, the lights turn on. If I press it again, the fog lights will turn on in a second. And then if we press it again, everything turns off, like so. And turn off. Okay, awesome. Now the next thing is fog lights. Once again, we're just gonna call this tail lights. We're gonna be copying this again. Oh, actually everything. Copy and paste, like so. Now we're gonna do something slightly different for this one. Everything else should be the same. So we're gonna be using the fog lights. So grab the fog light intensity. Okay. Setting the value to 1000. I have in my project, but you can set whatever you want. Play around with these values a little bit. After that, we want to grab the fog lights. So fog light front right, fog light front left. Then we want to set the material for it. So go to the... Do I not have a fog light material? I thought I did. Let's quickly look at the mesh and see which one I did use for it then. Did I put it at the blinker? Oh, I see, I did it as a blinker. So yeah, we'll just do it as a blinker then, but it's basically the same thing. Everything is just the same. Some cars might not have fog lights, some might. So in the next video, I'll show you how to do it if you have fog lights, but this car does not. So we're not going to be worrying about that for now. So the fog lights, we're not going to worry about that. So we're going to be going towards the blinkers now. Okay. So instead of this fog light intensity, we're just going to say blinker intensity with the default value being 200. Set all the blinkers in the top. We're going to be setting them to 0 for now. Now, in here, we want to have this for the drag out of this and set it to blinkers left. Say blinkers left. Okay. And we have the blinker intensity. We're going to say front left and back left. Then after that, we want to grab the material name. So blinker left, get rid of the spaces because I did make a mistake there and I apologize. Copy this name, paste this in here, okay? And then in the back, instead of saying is the lights on, we want to check if the blinkers are on. Also later for when we're doing a widget, okay? And now for the blinker right, we just want to be basically copying all of this once again, and we want to say, drag it into there. Blinker intensity is fine. Right here, we want to say the front right and the back right blinker right here. Front right blinker, not the fog light, the blinker, and then the back as well. Okay, let's just get rid of these fog lights because we're not going to be using them. So I'll do it again in the next episode when we're doing like more advanced stuff. But for now, let's just keep it this way. Okay, now everything should be working. If I set my blinkers to be 0, which they are, and I go into the game, we have no lights except the blinker materials themselves, it seems, because we haven't disabled them like so. And also go back into the blinker right before we forget, set this to 0 by default, and we also want to grab this name. Okay, so blinker right intensity, copy, and right here in the blinker right, so rename this to right, and we want to set this to be the blinker right intensity. Now if we go into the game, we have no lights on the vehicle. If I press F, we have our headlights, we have our tail lights, and then this will be for the fog lights, but we don't currently have that. We don't currently have the fog lights on the vehicle. So we're not going to be worrying about it for this episode, but we'll do it in the next one. Now what we want is we want the car to brake, right? The car needs to brake, needs to display braking. To do that, what we're going to do is go back into the blueprint. Okay, this one is done now. So we can actually close this one off. The light parameter, also done. The headlight rotation we still have to do. The brake material we still have to do, and the brake. Okay. So let's go and work on the next one, which is, let's say, brake. Okay. Let's say we work on this first. First thing we want to do is we want to check whether it's enabled or disabled. Okay. If it is enabled, we want to check again another branch. If you don't know how to get it directly, hold B and left click and you'll get a branch. We want to check if the lights are on. Are the lights on? If they are, we want to set the brake value. Okay. And we want to be setting this value to 1. Okay. And we want to grab the material name again. So go into the brake lights, grab the name, and we want to paste this. Okay, save that. Basically what it's saying, if we're braking and the lights are on, we want to set it to the max value to get max lighting. Okay, if it is not true, we are not braking, but the lights are on. If we are braking and the lights are not on, we only want to use like half of the intensity. Okay, we don't want to have full intensity. But if we are not braking right now, we want to check again if the lights are on. Okay, because if we're not braking, we want to check, do the backlights need to be on or off? If it is on, if the lights are on, we want to set to 0.5. If it is false, however, we want to reset them to 0. Okay, so reset them to 0. So we have no lighting. Okay, now quickly double click on this one and we'll quickly fill in this function. All it needs to do, once again, is just grab the mesh and do set scalar parameter value. And depending on the material name, we want to have a value to it. That's all we need to do for this one. I just did it because it kind of keeps it clean and organized. So now that we have that, we can go into the event graph, and I put it on the handbrake, but we can also put it on the brake. Okay, so let's go up here, first of all, let's find the brake, and where it says handbrake, we want to brake, and we want to say this one is enabled, the next one is disabled because we let go of the handbrake. Okay, and now on the braking itself, when it gets triggered, we want to brake. When we let go of it, we want to stop it. Okay, now if we go into the game, you'll actually see that if we drive and I brake the vehicle, the lights will come on, and if I let go, they'll get off because the lights are off. But if I turn on the lights and I drive and I brake, you will see the intensity kind of like slowly goes up, right? Goes up by a tiny bit. Okay, like so. But if you also want to have that the lights are less bright, which I wouldn't really recommend, but you can do that if you want. You can just go into the set brake parameter value, right? And now out of this, you just want to do a map range clamped, okay, between 0 and 1, 0 meaning it's off, 1 meaning it's max, and we want to set the intensity between 0 and the max taillight intensity. Okay, now drag out of this, and you want to grab the taillights, like so, and you want to say set intensity. Okay, so basically what it's saying is going to grab the value, which if it's 0.5 is only going to be half as bright, so at 100, and if it is 1, it's going to be at the max. Okay, so if we go into the game, because the lights are off, it's only going to be half bright, but if we turn on the lights now and we brake again, as you can see, the lights are more intensive. It gives more of the illusion of braking, I would say. Okay, so now that we have that done as well, we're gonna start work on the blinkers. Okay, now for the blinkers, it's going to be quite a simple function, or not even a function, quite a simple event for each one. So we're gonna right click, custom event, and we're gonna say, for the first one, we're gonna say activate blinker left. Okay, like so. And all you want to do from here is just drag out of this, and we want to say set timer by event. Okay, and out of that, we want to create another event. So drag out of this and say custom event, and this event is going to be called the play break blinker left sequence. Okay, like so. This is going to activate it, and then we're going to be doing this. Okay, so it's going to be looping, and I put 0.5, but just put as fast or as slow as you want. Out of this in the back, the return value, we're also going to drag out of that, and we want to say clear and then validate timer by handle, and then disconnect this one so it doesn't get called here. Drag this up here, make another custom event, and we're going to say deactivate fade blinker left. Okay, this is basically just going to, I'll just comment this and say cancel blinker animation. Okay, this is just going to cancel the animation. but we have no animation yet because the animation is going to be this event. All I did here was just drag out the toggle lights. Okay. This is how easy this system is. Enable lights and let's say blinker left. Okay. Now let's do a delay by holding D, the D key, and then pressing left click. I put the delay of 0.3, but once again, play with it as much as you want. And then afterwards, we're just going to be disabling the blinker. Okay. This is basically all you want to do. Now, to basically use this, I am just going to be grabbing the steering, which is right here. And instead of doing it on this is basically if you hold the key, this is if you release the key. But it has two different keys and you'll have to see what the action value is and all of that stuff. So what I'm just going to do is I am just going to right click and I use A and D for it. So I'm just going to say A key. Once again, put it on whatever you want. If you want to have a separate key for it, you can also do that. Now on the A key, when I press it, I want to say activate blinker left. Okay. And then on the release key, I want to say deactivate blinker left. I set deactive, so let's go here. Deactivate, like so. So it's so it makes sense. Okay. Now if I go into the game and I press the A key, the blinker comes on, as you can see. It has a little bit of a delay because it doesn't get called initially. If you want to fix that, what you can do is just go back up here, and after this event the timer gets set, what you can just do is drag out of this and drag it to the actual event. You can drag that out a little bit to make it cleaner, like so. And that will instantly call it. So if I now press A key, it instantly calls it, and there you go. You have your blinker left working. Okay. Now let's do the same thing for the right side. So I'm just gonna say blinker left animation. Actually, no, let's get rid of this. Put this here, comment this and say blinker left animation. Like so. There you go. And put that right here. Okay. And this is just going to be the input action for blinker left. But you can just put this on whatever you want. It's just calling two little events. Okay. Now that this is done, we just want to basically duplicate this, but for the right side. So let's start with a custom event, which is activate blinker right. Okay. Let's make another one. Deactivate blinker right. Okay. And then we're going to do another one, which is play blinker animation, blinker right animation, or sequence it is, sorry. Sequence. Okay. And now once again, out of this, drag the set timer by event, set it to 0.5 and looping. Drag this little event key into this. Okay. Then copy this 3 nodes, like so. Put it right here and say blinker right and blinker right, like so. Now for the last thing, once again, drag out of this and say clear and invalidate timer by handle and connect it to that. That's basically the whole function. Comment this and we're going to say blinker right animation. Okay. Awesome. There you go. And now right here, I want to say the D key, because we use the D key to turn right. And all you want to do is just say activate blinker right. Okay. And on the release, just deactivate the blinker on the right. Okay. And we're just going to say IA blinker right. Drag it down here, clean it up a little bit, like so. So now, if we go into the game once again, I'll show you. If I go to the right side, the right blinker comes on, except the material does not seem to come on. It does on the left side, not on the right side. And that is because in the blinker, in the toggle right, for our blinker on the right side, we did set that right. All right, welcome back, guys. I found the issue, but it's not really an issue with our system. It's more of an issue with Unreal. I don't know why. If your project has the same thing where it does not work, all you have to do is basically go into the blinker right material, set it to 1, okay, apply and save, then press play, have it update, and now if you blink, everything works. It goes off, it goes back on. Now you can go back and you can reset this to 0, like so, apply. Now if we go into the game, it does work. I don't know why, really weird, but yeah, now it is working perfectly. So we have our lights, we can drive, press the brake, it works. We have the braking, we have the front lights, we can turn them off, blinker on the right, blinker on the left. Now let's make it one more function, which is basically, or just another event. I'm gonna put this on the tab key. Okay. All this is going to do is put like the caution lights on. So we're just gonna do a flip-flop, just to show you guys how you would do that. So out of the flip-flop, you would just want to say activate the blinkers. So activate the blinker functions, like so. And then disable them once we click it again. So drag this down here a little bit, deactivate this guy, and deactivate this guy. Comment this as caution signals, like so. Press play. As you can see, if I press tab, oh, it actually also has for the camera. So I'm quickly going to disable that one, which is like right here, which is like the interior cam. We're not going to use that. So if you press tab, as you can see, the caution lights come on, click it again, and it goes off. Okay, so we already have the blinkers. Yeah, if I drive, as you can see, it kind of bugs out, because if you have your caution signs on, well, we can fix that real quick. I didn't have that in my original blueprint, but it's not that difficult. So we're just going to go back into the blueprint. Now, when we do this, when we turn them on, what we want to say is make one more variable and say caution signals on. And here we're going to say that it is true. Okay. And when we turn them off, we want to say that they are off, like so, really easy. And now when we are steering on both of them, okay, what we basically want to do is quickly, if I expand these ones a little further, grab these two, drag them down here, a little bit more space to work with, like so. And all you want to do is basically say, stop to me. All you basically want to say is that if you are pressing to put your blinker on, you quickly just want to check if the caution signal is on. If it is true, don't do anything. If it's false, blink. Okay. Okay, quite simple. Same thing when you let go of it. When the caution signs are off, you can blink. Okay. So that's that. Clean that up. Grab this. Expand this for a second. And do the same thing here. Okay. It's quite easy to adjust this system depending on what you need. So we're just going to do that. Like so. Clean that up. And there you go. If I now compile, I can blink when I drive, no problem. Left, right, okay. If I now put my caution signals on and I drive, as you can see, I'm sorry, the caution signals stay on, as you can see right here. Okay. So we have braking done. We have the headlights done. We have caution and blinkers done. The last thing I want to do is this set headlight rotation. So go back in the blueprint, set the headlight rotation. And it's really up to you if you want to have this or not, but I think it's a realistic feature, so I want to show you guys how to do it. All you want to do from here out is say get relative rotation, split this. This is just a relative rotation of the spotlight. And out of the pitch, we want to say plus, drag out this rotation value. It's going to add this value to the relative rotation. And out of this one again, let's make a little rewrite note to keep it kind of organized. And say set relative rotation. Okay. Clean that up. And out of here, split this. This goes into the pitch, the roll just goes into the roll, and the yaw just goes into the yaw. Okay. Now, if you want to have adjustable headlights, what you can do, I'm just going to put it on the 1 key for now. So 1 key. We want to do another multi-gate. Multi-gate, like so. And let me quickly check my project to make sure I don't mess anything up. Yeah, okay. All you want to do from here is just say loop, and I'm gonna have 3 different outputs. Now for the first one, what we want to do is say set headlight rotation, and these are always going to be the same. So you're just gonna grab 2 of them. So headlight for the front right, and headlight for the front left, like so. Now out of out 0, what we want to do is, let's actually give a little bit more space so we can make it a little cleaner, like so. Now for the first one, what I want to do is I want to move them down. So I'll say -25 on both of them. If you want to go up, it's the positive value. If you want to go down, it's negative. So in my case, I want to go down negative. Okay. Now for the second one, I also want to go down. I'm just going to drag that out so it's straight like so. Okay. Now for the second one, I also want to go down by 25. That's fine. And now for the last one, what you want to do is just how many inputs you have to get it back to the default value. All you want to do is just grab the added of both of these, which is -50. And then you want to add the positive value to it. So in this case, it was -50. So we want to add 50 to it. And like so. Now, if I go into the game on the 1 key, if I go into the game, I turn on my headlights and I press the 1 key. You can see that the lights actually come closer and they'll reset once they reach the end. That's just how you can do like adjustable headlights a little bit. Now, if you want to, like I said, if you want to go up, you can say +25. Or just make this into a variable. That's also possible. +25, and then for the last one, you just add both of them and set the negative value of that. So there you go. Now, if I go into the game and I press the 1 key, the lights will go up and go back. Okay. And that was basically it for this episode. I'm gonna stop it here. In the next episode, we'll be working, let's quickly comment this. And I'm gonna be putting this as adjustable headlight rotation. Okay. So that was basically it for this episode. In the next one, we'll be working on some fog lights, some random features like a car alarm with some audio, and just some extra things that the more advanced people can probably do on their own. But if you're still kind of new to this, new to Unreal Engine and vehicles in general, then I will make another episode explaining how to do like more advanced stuff. But that was it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much.